When I look at the aspirations, the goals, the ambitions of the American people, I think that people are ready for a new way forward.
I grew up a middle-class kid. My mother raised my sister and me. She worked very hard. Yours is a story I hear around the country as I travel. And in terms of both rightly having the right to have aspirations and dreams and ambitions for your family.
Well, would you look at that? CNN Jake Tapper destroys Kamala Harris's new ad and points out what we've all been saying since the beginning, that she has a hard time answering questions. So in this video, we're going to react to his take on her new ad, and he ends up interviewing Nancy Pelosi. And let's just say she did not appreciate the way Jake Tapper talked about Kamala Harris. Let's start here.
In our 2024 lead, 42 days until Election Day. Voting has already started in some parts of the country. Vice President Kamala Harris is targeting the 7 battleground states with this TV ad.
I'll lower the cost of insulin and prescription drugs for everyone. And I will work to pass the first ever federal ban on price gouging on food. More than 100 million Americans will get a tax cut.
This ad attempts to be a fairly straightforward presentation in answering the question of how exactly she would address the cost of living crisis, which has not always been the case in some of these more unscripted moments that we've heard from the candidate herself. In interviews with CNN's Dana Bash or the Philadelphia's Channel 6 or Oprah, Harris has been asked to outline some specific things she would do to help working people pay for things if elected. And each time she began, well, take a listen.
When I look at the aspirations, the goals, the ambitions of the American people, I think that people are ready for a new way forward.
I grew up a middle-class kid. My mother raised my sister and me. She worked very hard. Yours is a story I hear around the country as I travel. And in terms of both rightly having the right to have aspirations and dreams and ambitions for your family.
In some cases, it has taken nearly 2 minutes before Vice President Harris actually arrives at describing her policies.
I would say in some instances, she hasn't answered the questions at all. She just rambles on and on and on. But the thing that it highlights, if you heard that little snippet when he played the ad, it just doesn't come off authentic. And I keep saying it. It isn't who she is. When they have her do these scripts, a lot of people say that she sounds good. In my opinion, she just sounds fake, you know, like she is an actress out of Hollywood. And so when you're campaigning and that's the way you sound, even in your ads, I don't believe that's going to work. Now, I might be wrong, but if you're really targeting battleground states, right? And if we're talking Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, I don't think the people who live in that state are going to eat this up. I think they're going to spit it out because I think they're hungry for someone to tell them what it is, exactly what they're going to do for them. And I believe they're only giving her an opportunity to do that because, of course, they don't like Trump. And I'm talking about the undecided voters, right? The people who, you know, they've been programmed to hate Trump, so they're giving her a chance. I don't know how many people are like that out there, but they do exist, okay? And so I don't think she's going to quench their thirst. And so this ad that she put out doesn't work at all. But listen, trying to tell that to Nancy Pelosi is a mistake. That's number one. And number two, questioning Kamala Harris, especially Joe Biden, is also a mistake. And that's what Jake Tapper gets into right now.
Former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is here with us to discuss. Do you think she needs to be presenting more meat on the bones of, I get that she's from a middle-class family. It's great. And I get that she feels people's pains. Great. But what about, like, here are the 5 things I'm going to do directly for you? Does she need to be doing more of that?
Well, she'll be doing some of that tomorrow once she'll put forth her economic plan. But people like to have a connection to whoever is running for office, that they share their experience, that they understand their lives. And I think that's what she is establishing. But I never give advice to presidential candidates. The wisdom that they have, the political astuteness that they have to become the presidential candidate says they know something about the market out there. But I do think that the one issue in terms of the cost of living, people want to hear something very specific. She is saying that in that ad, but also tomorrow in her economic plan.
In other words, she hasn't done a good enough job of doing that, but I'm not going to obviously blast her because my name is Nancy Pelosi, right? Where the only person I will ever criticize in public is Donald Trump. So, of course, she's not going to say the quiet part out loud, but she definitely did not say, oh, yeah, she's doing a great job of that. Of course not. And then she pointed out that the candidate who really had the confidence to become a presidential candidate would be able to do things like that. And the interesting thing is, Kamala Harris did not have the confidence to become the presidential candidate. She was handed the nomination. There's a difference. So she didn't have to go through a primary. She didn't have to out-debate other candidates. She didn't have to go through the ringer to get to where she is today. She was handed the nomination. Now we're going to find out come November 5th, does that actually work in today's politics? I'm still of the belief that it won't, but we shall see. So, of course, she's not going to acknowledge all of that, right?
I have no complaint about how she is going forward.
Oh, not a complaint, but do you think that she needs to be mixing it up more, having a press conference, more town halls, just out and about more? Oprah's the queen, obviously, but that's not a tough interview sitting down with Oprah. Oprah's endorsed her. She spoke at the convention. Does she need to be doing more of that sort of thing?
She will make that decision in her campaign agenda and her plan. What we're going to do, though, is make sure that we own the ground to get out every vote to elect her, that the message that is shaped is non-menacing, that it's uniting, all progressive and bold, but non-menacing, and that we have the resources, the three M's, the mobilization, message, money, to get the job done. She will be herself. She will take it forward in the way that she has confidence to connect with the American people, show the empathy that she has. But make no mistake, I know her well, as you know. She is a person of, I know her personally, and she is a person of goodness, of deep faith, and that's why she cares so much about people and their well-being. Officially, I know her. Policy-wise, she has strength. Mm-hmm. She knows the issues. She knows the strategy. She's eloquent in her presentation.
Well, I know she has your vote, but it's neck and neck. It is. I've never seen an election this tight at this point. Usually somebody has an edge at this point. That could change, but it's neck and neck. In the battlegrounds, it's neck and neck. So I do wonder, it seems like she's running kind of cautiously, and I wonder, does she need to take more risks?
Now, we got to give some credit to Jake Tapper, right? Because, I don't like CNN, okay? He's right up there at the top of the list. But I do appreciate that he's pressing her on some of these questions. And obviously, Nancy Pelosi, she's been doing this since before I was even born, okay? So good on him to do that. Now, he's making a phenomenal point, though. If this was a football game and the game is tied, she comes off, like the plays that she's calling are plays so they don't lose the game. She's not calling any plays to win the game, right? Like there's a difference in the strategy based on your mindset as a competitor. You could tell that on Trump's behalf, every single day this week, he's in a battleground state. He's trying to win this. Her strategy is to take no risk. That's why she refused to do any interviews. That's why the Oprah, the ABC, and the CNN interview is probably the best we are going to get. And if she truly felt confident about where she was, she wouldn't be demanding another debate. So clearly, as far as taking risk are concerned, she's not willing to do that. I just don't see her doing it. And I think he makes a great point. And I don't think Nancy Pelosi has an answer for that.
I'm sure that you hear from progressive voters, Democratic voters who say, as I hear from them on social media, the media made such a big deal out of Joe Biden's alleged cognitive problems. why don't they talk about Donald Trump's cognitive problems? Well, Donald Trump talked about that just a second ago, and I want to get your reaction. Let's run that clip.
They laugh at us all over the world. They're laughing at us. And you know what they're really laughing at? Kamala, because they can't believe that she's going to be president. They can't believe. You talk about cognitive problems? She's got bigger cognitive problems than he has, in my opinion.
Donald Trump saying that Kamala Harris has bigger cognitive problems than Joe Biden.
Why would you even cover that? This is a person who's not on the level. He is their nominee for president. He is incompetent. Let's not even talk about the silliness of it all and the weirdness of it all and the assault on women that it is. We're not going to talk issues. Incompetent. The only thing he did as president, when he had the majority, was to pass a bill that gave a tax cut that gave 83 of the benefits to the top 1%, adding $2 trillion to the national debt. The worst job creation record of anybody president since Herbert Hoover.
Because of COVID, yes.
Well, it's not because of COVID. We put $3 trillion into the economy when he was president, working with and the Congress working together. We put $3 trillion into the economy. So don't blame it on. And what did he do with COVID? Denial and delay, responsible for thousands and thousands of people dying. So if you're going to forgive his job record because of COVID, make sure you attribute many of those deaths to him as well.
Okay, sorry guys. Oh my, she literally had a meltdown. It's like Donald Trump broke her. Right now, we also understand that the person who probably hates Donald Trump more than anyone who's in the government is Nancy Pelosi. No question. Her whole purpose right now at her age, when someone asked her, was to make sure that Donald Trump never gets back to the White House. That's all she cares about right now. So I find her answer all over the place. You saw her jaw was all about to fall out because Jake Tapper played that clip. And of course, she's not telling the whole truth. We know what Donald Trump accomplished. Okay, the Abraham Accords. She's not going to bring that up, of course. Moving the embassy to Jerusalem. She's not going to acknowledge that, right? No new wars during his administration. She's not going to acknowledge that. Defeating ISIS. She's not going to acknowledge that. Low border crossings, low inflation rate. She's not going to acknowledge any of that. So that just shows you how disingenuous she really is. And now listen, let's be honest about her. She's the best of the best as when it comes to politician. When you talk about power and influence, she's behind pulling all the strings. And even she just got emotional and just kind of went blank when Jake Tapper surprised her with what Donald Trump was saying. So that says a lot about her, by the way. Okay, so as I wrap up this video, just a few points for you. Nancy Pelosi. We know that she played a huge role during January 6th. She refused to approve the request for the National Guard. We know that officially just came out and was finally unsealed and made public. They held those transcripts for some reason, which we know what the reason is, for the last few years because they were trying to prosecute Trump, of course. And there's even video footage showing her saying the exact words. Why wasn't there the National Guard? We should have had the National Guard there, blah, 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 blah. So we know what type of person Nancy Pelosi is. She's also the person that clearly went to Joe Biden and pretty much put a gun to his head and said, hey, if you don't get out of this race, I'm going to make things very hard for you. And what did he do as a retaliation? He endorsed Kamala Harris. So we are where we are today. That sums up Nancy Pelosi. By the way, her nephew is Gavin Newsom. And we've seen what he's done to this state of California, where I live. And Kamala Harris doesn't fall far from that same tree, which brings me to point number 2. Kamala Harris has to be one of the weakest Democratic candidates they've ever run for president. You see, you might try to make that argument for Donald Trump, but you can't because Donald Trump has a movement that is a mile deep. Like he's really came in and broke American politics. It'll never be the same because of him. In fact, I think he is the first domino to make the conversation change from Democrat versus Republican to populism versus the establishment, right? That's where we truly are right now. Populism meaning the people versus the government. That's where we're at now. The establishment, the people in Washington, D.C., the swamp, right? Because we've seen it time and time again where they put their interests, their money, and their power before the American people. The bottom line is this is Trump's election to lose. Kamala Harris, again, those ads that she tries to put out, they don't land. She's not an authentic candidate. I don't think she's a strong candidate, but I do believe that she appears to be strong because she has the full weight of the corporate media. She has the full weight of Hollywood. She's got every available resource in her pocket without any resistance. So the fact that she's tied, I think that says a lot about how weak she really is. So that's my opinion. What do you guys think about that ad and Jake Tapper pressing Nancy Pelosi in regards to Kamala Harris's inability to answer questions? And then when he brought up Donald Trump, how much Nancy Pelosi changed. It's like she got amnesia or she has dementia all of a sudden. Put your answers in the comment section below. Thank you for checking out the video today. Stay grateful, stay focused, and stay true. Peace.